Hi, my name is Brandon White and welcome to Haas Productions. On this channel we specialize in short films, tutorials, and every now and then some gear reviews. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe consider subscribing. We'd love to have you along. And now let's go ahead and get into what today's is. So today we're going to be talking about some tips I have for making a documentary film, and that's going to be both storytelling and the technical side of making a documentary film. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so before you film anything, do a little bit of location scouting. So I basically can't stress how important location scouting is. Like, you think maybe it's something you would just do for a narrative film when, it says interior, so-and-so's house, or exterior, the railroad, or whatever it is. And you want to be really specific in that. And a documentary might seem like, oh, we'll just go film it at someone's house, and where are we filming, and the room and stuff doesn't really matter that much because it's a documentary. And sadly, that's kind of the approach I took, being this my first bigger documentary film that I've done. And I think it turned out all right, but there were a few shots that just had a plain white wall and a poster that had some glariness on it, kind of I'll show you here, and it ended up not working out as good as it could. And then there were other days I filmed in this garage space at the same house, and had I done some location scouting before, I would have known that the garage space looked better and I could have done most or all of them there. All right, so this section of the video I'm kind of titling directing, even though it's not directing in the sense you would directing an actor for a narrative film, but it's kind of similar. So in a narrative, you'd be directing, trying to get like a certain performance out of an actor for the scene. But in the documentary case, you just, for the most part, you want the person to be comfortable in being their natural, normal self. And some people are going to be great and they're going to be super comfortable on camera, and it's going to be fine, and that's cool. But there's going to be other people that get really nervous. All of a sudden you hit record and they're super nervous and they're stumbling over their words and they're just really uncomfortable. And the camera sees everything. It's going to know if someone's uncomfortable, and that's going to be really apparent, and it's going to affect your overall film. So it's your job as the director of the film to get that person comfortable. Talk to them before you start rolling, just about casual, basic stuff, and just, let them get comfortable with the situation. And also, while you're talking to them, it's great because you can check your audio levels. You can hook the microphone up and just have casual conversation and get them warmed up for the interview to come, and then also make sure your audio levels are at the right level you need them. All right, so I want to go into a point that you can still use some of the tricks that are used in narrative films to invoke emotion in your film, such as how you frame a shot. Like right now, we brought this one in closer, and in a film you might want to use a close-up shot if someone's going to say something dramatic or sad, and you want to get really in close for that serious moment. I did that in my film, and you can base that if based on the question, you have a good idea that it's going to have kind of a serious answer, and adjust your framing for that. Or better yet, if you're able to shoot with 2 or 3 cameras for your shoot, then you can just have one in tighter and one as a wide shot, and then when you go to edit, just cut to that tighter close-up shot. And in the same way, if the character's talking about something and they seem small or defeated, to do a really wide shot or a really high angle shot looking down to make them seem small and to further enhance that feeling. And just the same, you can do music cues to set a mood or tone, and that really makes or breaks what you're going for. So picking a sad, music track, like I did that, and I'll show you an example here.
I didn't start making music until my best friend passed, and that just kind of shook me up, and he always wanted me to record music, and so that's when I started doing it.
See, that music track, had I not had music, or I had different music that was more upbeat or just the wrong choice, but the sad music really lets that sink in. And then at the end, I used more upbeat, happy kind of music, looking to the future and, you know, looking ahead in a positive light, kind of like this.
I've seen like all different types of life in Spokane. I mean, I got friends on the South Hill, North Side, West Side, Valley. It's like I'm all over the place all the time.
So yeah, you can use those tricks and lots of other ones. Those are just two main things I did in my film. All right, so B-roll. I would say with B-roll, make sure you shoot it with intent, if at all possible. Don't just do your interviews and go to do your B-roll and just, I'm just gonna shoot whatever. And that's kind of what I did on my film, and it worked fine. I got a lot of stuff that was good that I could use, and it helped enhance the story. But having a good plan of certain things you want to get, certain shots you want to get, and that's why kind of having an idea in your head at the beginning just of what you think the film is good, and that'll help you go shoot your B-roll. You can do some like on the fly ones, but maybe do a mix of planned shots of certain things you know you want to get, and then some other random ones that, oh, maybe we'll use it later, we'll see, kind of thing. Also with B-roll, get way more B-roll than you think you'll need. You'll think you'll need just a little bit, but to me, B-roll and photos that are popping up throughout your film are what differentiates that from just an interview. Just, you know, something like you'd see on TV interviewing like an actor, and it's just the interviewer and the actor the whole time. All right, so another cool editing trick you can do in regard to B-roll. Hey, hold on a second, what was I gonna say? Okay, so, hey, hold on a second, what was I gonna say? Okay, so, is using B-roll to hide a jump cut is a really cool trick. So if I'm talking and then all of a sudden I'm leaning forward and I don't want it to be a jump cut like this, I can put a B-roll over the top of that part of what I was talking and hide that. It does, you don't see the jump cut, it just looks smooth and no one's ever gonna know you did that. And just the same, you can do the same thing if somebody says, things like that, or, you know, or they pause or they stumble over their words or things like that, and you can hide that by cutting out their ums or their pauses to keep things flowing, and then hide that with putting a B-roll. I mean, B-roll clip over that. It's not always gonna work perfect, but usually like that sort of thing can work pretty good, and it's a good trick to know and use. Oh, hey. I was just sitting here at my laptop pretending to edit, because the next part we're going to talk about is about editing. So just kind of starting out, I would say even before you've done any editing or made any cuts, make sure you're super organized in everything. Make sure when you're shooting that you've slated it, because when you go back to look at that, you want to know what scene that was to match up with your audio and your video, and name all your folders specifically and have subfolders if you need to. So, you know, maybe name it, you know, whatever the project name is, day one, put the date, and then in there have your cameras. So like mine would be MPCC, so that'd be all the footage I did on that. And I actually only use one camera, but let's just say I used the Canon on there, Canon 80D, and have everything you filmed on that. And basically, you're gonna wanna be really organized, especially if you're doing like a longer film, like more of a full-length documentary, because you're gonna want to know what day you filmed stuff and who you filmed and what cameras you were using, because it's gonna be, you know, a lot of your footage you're gonna depend on chronological order of filming and the events that get talked about in it. And I could go into detail a lot on this, like make a whole video on this, and there are a lot of videos about this already on YouTube. But just kind of as a general note, don't get sloppy, because it's just gonna make it harder for yourself later trying to find your footage. So another kind of helpful hint I have, and it could play into any video, but really helpful with documentary films, is as you're going along, if you don't want to get kind of bogged down about what B-roll to put in or what photo to put in, and you're still figuring out, or maybe you're still needing to go film more B-roll, but you got to start on your edit, is to, as you're watching your story, to go in and put markers in. So you're going to hit the M key if you're using Final Cut Pro X, and that's going to put a marker. You have to be clicked on your timeline. It's going to put a marker right where you hit M while the video is playing or wherever your playhead is. And that's just really helpful. And you can even double click the marker and go put a note in that like there's going to be a clip or photo that's got to go there, that later when you do find the right one, it's easy to go back in the timeline and say, oh yeah, I remember right when that character, right when that person talked about this certain thing, I was wanting a photo of when he was a little kid to show on the screen at that point. So I mean, you'll end up having a lot of markers all over your timeline, but it's really helpful to me, and it's just going to save you time in the long run. So, markers. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit more about making a documentary film. If so, I'd really appreciate it if you click that like button. That really helps out the channel a lot. If you loved it and you want to join along every week, well, we're going to be posting videos regularly, so we'd love to have you along. So go ahead and click that subscribe button. And also, if you have a documentary experience or some tips, you can let me know in the comments, or even if you want to share your documentary film, you can put a link. I'd love to check it out. So feel free to share down below in the comments. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.